Hey there, Goa fans. This is Mark, DJ Solitaire, here with episode 99 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series in which I share in every episode one of my favorite tracks from the 1990s Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. Okay, so we are rapidly approaching the end of the 96-97 season. And episode 100 will tie all of that up. And then in 101, we will be looking forward into the 97-98 season. As I've said, it's just impossible to cover all the amazing tracks in that particular 96-97 season because it was really just a jaw-dropping time. Unbelievable music being produced by producers who, I'd been listening to since 94, as well as several new kinds of, several new projects and different kinds of music that were really evolving. So it was a really exciting time. I was living in London from September of 96 I stayed until February 98. And so we'll be covering some of that latter period of my stay in the next sort of section of this series after episode 101. But I realized that, I really could not complete this 96-97 season without featuring this track. It is the first track I heard of from this project. I didn't have a physical release for this. I got this. It was a French project, uh, one of whom, one member of the duo, is still very active using this name. And the music's seen a great evolution in style and very versatile music making and evolution. But it was the only track I got by them at the time. And it turns out that this track was released on a single at some point in 96. I got it either late 96 or, in the first part of 97. And I used to play this all the time. Absolutely love this track. It made it into just about every set except, some of the pre-recorded ones, some of the ones that I actually, recorded live during the sets in 98. It's not in there somehow. Made it into just about all the other ones. I remember really playing this a lot in Tokyo also in 98, 99. Uh, Brilliant track by Jaïa, Brainstorm. Now, the track would eventually be released on this album with a longer ambient intro coming in from the previous track. But the track itself that I had on DAT just started, with a clean beginning. And I got this from the chapter president of the French DAT Mafia living in Tufnell Park, Emmerich, who got me all kinds of great music, and I got him some great music too. So, but I remember, this was, as soon as I heard it, I was absolutely in love. And a big part of that is the harmonies that are going on here, as well as the patterns and the incredible storyline. There are some really interesting intervals with the melody that gives it a really hypnotic, otherworldly, dimensional feel. So there's going to be, there's a minor third, major third situation that's going on. And it depends if you read this as being E flat minor or E flat major. And yet, looking in that whole realm, there's a perfect fifth and there's a diminished fourth. And all of this, moving between major and minor, right? Sort of whatever it is you'd find in a major key, and then altering by bringing it down a semitone. Same for a major third, minor third. It's just one note down, that little slide down that sort of makes that shift. And there's so much of that going on in this track, and it is just gorgeous, as well as the fact that there's like real voices and synthesized voices and all these wonderful effects and really hypnotic patterns that just create this kind of loop. So, absolute masterpiece. Really, really love this. Um, I wasn't able to connect with the musician who's still making music under the name Jaïa, Yanis Camarinos, and his partner at the time, Jean-Michel Blanchet, who left the project, I think, around 2000. I have so much that I can share about this track. I've already given you a little bit of the harmonic situation, and goodness me, I just absolutely love this track. So I'm really glad I remembered because it wasn't in any of my playlists, and it wasn't on a CD that I normally go back to when I'm ripping tracks for my sets. And so now this is permanently in the folder for my retro sets. So let's give this a listen. Masterpiece, truly phenomenal track by the French duo Jaïa, Brainstorm. Okay, so the tension of this figuration, and then that slide into the kick. And I love this sort of, there's a back and forth and tunnel vision that we get here, and then that upper register rhythmic element, very crisply defined, really effective. While all this stuff is coming up, and then some extra little, dimensional sounds going on in the background there to fatten out what's the main riffs, and then so that's where we've got the minor third, major third, and the diminished fourth, and then love that. So you get those bleeps, but there's tension, right? So it's not as light. I mean, it's a lighter sound, but it really goes into a hyper-focused dimensional shift. And then this is again where we get that those amazing intervals, major, minor, and diminished. And then it gets duplicated. You really have the sense of, there's this whole musical language, this formula that's unlocking patterns in consciousness. Very mystical and otherworldly on the dance floor. And pretty good listening just like this also. And then, so he really brings in this human and still kind of almost otherworldly, goddess-like energy. And this is a brilliant key shift, really well done to a relative key. So it's a very smooth transition for the evolution in the second subject. And same relative patterns, sort of intervals in this relative key. And I love that this is now, synthesized voices, really patterns the shaping of language. And then we have human voices. So now we have this male voice to complement the female voice from earlier. And then we go back into the primary key. Listen to that other riff that's still going on underneath that. It was right at the opening. Wonderful use of percussion there. By this time, I mean, it's just looped so many times, you're just completely hypnotized. And then, so creative, the storytelling, right? So this whoosh, and whoosh with a kick too. And we get some variations on that riff, shifting tonalities. Love that percussive element, sort of in that mid-upper frequency, really gives some texture. Those incredible intervals. Again, that octave duplication. And that original riff is still going underneath it, but you know, when it's padded out with those other layers, it takes on a different kind of flavor. And there's that tension in the upper register just creeping in there. This is really just phenomenal, exclamatory, sky-opening stuff. The excitement. And at this point, you know, everybody's just, you know, really at the breaking point. I love that. You know, that stuff is just pushed past the limit. It's a little bit cleaner here at this point. And then those up and down figurations that I've talked about a lot. Again, the way this mimics human speech with its inflection and the shaping of the phrase. Percussion drops out. Still got the tension there. Love those. Again, the bleeps. Just starts to wind down. Undulating cyber-electric ocean of consciousness there. Ooh. My version on that cut out a little bit before that. Didn't have as long in the outro, so I had to be a little bit slicker with the mixes there. Oh my goodness. What a jaw dropper. I was really getting goosebumps at several times, you know, while we were listening just there. So much going on. Right? The harmonies, a really catchy melodic riff with those really mystical harmonies. The human voices, male and female, the synthesized voices, and the way that riff really sort of would slide in a way that like a natural vocal inflection would take place. Incredible use of bleeps, but not in a light way. I mean, it would be light and then it would just go into some really sharp focus to sort of take you somewhere. Incredible modulation to a relative key. And so there was no cheese whatsoever, right? The modulations will sound cheesy when somebody just tries to do a straight modulation instead of doing it to a relative key. If you just go one note down or two notes down, generally it's not going to work. And if you do it a fifth down, never do that. That's one of the rules of classical music. You don't do parallel fifths or parallel fourths. And I mean, so much more. There's just so much going on here. You know, the tension, the way there's that vocal quality and that sort of natural lyrical beauty, but then the tension builds up and it starts ramping up, ramping up. Incredible storytelling. A musical masterpiece. And that's going to be showing up in more of my sets coming up soon because glad to have that back in the folder, glad to be able to share it. And for episode 99, I mean, I really played this a ton at the time. And it's really almost amazing that it hasn't been in any of my sets lately, but that will change. So, hats off, gentlemen. Fabulous masterpiece. And next week we are at episode 100, folks. So thank you all for tuning in. I am Mark DJ Solitaire, wrapping up here episode 99 and leaving you without commentary the complete masterpiece by Jaïa, Brainstorm.